Welcome to this barn rafter building video. Here you will learn how to build Gambrel style roof rafters for your storage shed. Each rafter is made by connecting 4 boards using OSB gussets to attach them together. The roof pitches on our Gambrel sheds are 7 and 12 for the upper slope and 12 and 7 for the lower slope. This makes the top ridge angles 30.5 degrees, the mid ridge angles 14.5 degrees, and the seat cut at the walls 30.5 degrees. We will start at the ridge and work down the roof rafters with the cuts. Set the square on the edge of the board where you want the tip of the cut to be, and pivot the square until the mark on the common indicator lines up with the edge of the board. You will notice that the degrees on the degree markings will match up properly. Mark this angle and cut it. Make sure with all of your cuts that you are cutting on the waist side of the line so that all your rafters will be uniform in length. If you have a chop saw, you can set the angle of your ridge cuts on the saw and make the cuts without using the angle from the framing or speed square. Then measure from the long point of your cut to the long point on the other end of the board and mark the rafter's length. Now align the pivot point on the square where the mark meets the edge of the board and mark the angle at the other end of the rafter and cut it. After the upper rafter board is cut, you will repeat the same steps with the lower rafter board. Refer to your plans to find the lengths of the rafter boards for the size of shed you are building. Now we will prepare to build a temporary jig on the shed floor to aid in building the rafter assemblies. Using one end of the shed floor that is the same width as the rafter assemblies, mark the locations of the ridges on the shed floor by measuring up from the bottom edge and in from the sides. These measurements can be found on the rafter plans. Test fit the rafters by setting the rafters on the marks. Make sure the ends are flush with each other and the long points of the rafters meet the marks on the floor. It is more important that the long points are on their marks than the cuts are perfectly flush. Now attach wood blocks on each side of the rafters to hold them in their locations. Screw the blocks of wood to the floor so they can be easily removed after building the rafter assemblies. Make sure that the blocks are snug up against the rafter edges and that the rafter is in its exact location. Before assembling the rafters together, use the first 2 rafter boards as templates to mark the remaining rafters. This ensures that they are all as close to the same size as possible. Make rafter gussets from OSB and use them to attach the rafter ends together. Mark and cut the first gussets using the plans, and then use the first set as templates to trace the remaining gussets. Make sure that the gusset does not extend above the top edges of the rafter, and then nail the gusset to the rafters using 6D nails. Place a nail about every 3 inches along the edges of the gussets. Install the gussets on both sides of all the rafters except for the gable end rafters. The rafters should be set on the wall top plates with the same sides facing the same end of the shed. Mark the front side of each rafter assembly so you can remember which side is the front. Test the rafter assembly by standing it up and lining it up with the edges of the shed floor. Now build the remaining roof rafters using the jig on the shed floor. Continue learning about shed building by clicking on one of these videos. Thanks for watching.